Y&R Spoilers reveal the atmosphere in Genoa City becomes more and more tense and stifling as rumors about Dumas spread more and more, like a cold wind penetrating deep into every hidden corner of the powerful families. Although he has never appeared on the show, the name Dumas is enough to make Victor ponder, and Jill constantly sends people to monitor any unusual movements. No one knows who Dumas is or where he comes from, but what this character is preparing to do promises to create an earthquake, which can completely change the balance of power in this already turbulent city. From leaked news, many people believe that Dumas is none other than Cane Ashby, a person who seemed to have completely disappeared from Genoa City's power map after personal incidents and family disputes. However, there was also a stream of information that Billy Flynn, a name unfamiliar to many people, but associated with shady business dealings in other big cities, was the one who would take on the identity of Dumas. The veil of mystery continued to cover, making it impossible for any conversation in the luxurious offices of Newman, Chancellor, or Abbott's familiar restaurant to avoid mentioning Dumas as a persistent obsession. Meanwhile, Amanda, who was always considered fair and intelligent, accidentally became a witness to a shocking secret when passing by an unanswered phone call in the hallway of Chancellor's office. Tucker's firm but clearly anxious voice rang out, mentioning a past debt, about the child he did not dare to face. Amanda was stunned. The scattered clues about who Dumas was began to connect in her mind. She realized that Dumas might be Tucker's long-lost son, a horrifying truth that he himself had not yet had the courage to face, and a secret that, if exposed, would lead to a series of other tragedies. However, speculation about Dumas's true gender suddenly took a different turn. Some people inside Abbott believed that Dumas was a woman, with a way of thinking and acting strangely similar to Jill, decisive, scheming but also knowing how to hide at the right time. This further fueled the hypothesis that Dumas was not only a threat to Newman or McCall Unlimited but also a ghost returning to reclaim what originally belonged to the Abbott family. Small details such as Dumas's signature, email communication style, and the sharp moves that Dumas made in the financial market made both Victoria and Kyle unable to sit still. For a moment, even Victor suspected that Dumas was actually Tucker, who had repeatedly disrupted the order of Genoa City with his unpredictable moves. He pondered, considering all the possibilities, but encountered a series of contradictions in Newman's recent financial transaction records. Victor clearly felt that there was a hidden hand controlling everything, skillfully sowing doubts among allies, taking advantage of personal weaknesses to ignite conflicts that had been simmering within each family. Things became more complicated when Dumas secretly launched sophisticated attacks on Victor's corporation, at the same time approaching the weakest link in the Abbott family, forcing Jack to call an emergency meeting to prevent any possible risks. At the meeting table, no one dared to mention Dumas's name clearly, but everyone understood that with just a small mistake, all the achievements of many generations would go up in smoke. The culmination of all doubts and worries was when an anonymous letter was sent to the Abbott mansion. In it, Dumas hinted that he was the descendant of a Genoa City legend, once rejected, once forgotten, but now returned to reclaim what was his. The words were sharp and cold, like a declaration of uncompromising war against all those who once thought themselves invincible on the battlefield of power here. In an unexpected turn of events, Dumas suddenly appeared at a charity auction organized by Abby. No one knew who this character was, because Dumas always covered his face with a mysterious half-face mask. His tall figure, with every step he took, exuded confidence mixed with a bit of arrogance, attracting all eyes in the banquet hall. When the host invited Dumas to speak, the entire audience fell into absolute silence. In a hoarse voice, Dumas declared, "I have returned to Genoa City not to destroy, but to demand justice. The truth will soon be revealed, and when that happens, everyone will have to face what they have done." The speech was short but full of hidden meaning, like a knife cutting into the insecurities of the powerful people sitting below. Jill stood up, her eyes following Dumas without leaving, clearly feeling that there was something familiar in this woman, like her younger self but much colder and tougher. Victoria, Jack, Victor, and Tucker were all silent, each immersed in their own thoughts about a possibility. Could Dumas be the living proof of the mistakes of the past that they had deliberately forgotten? Since the auction, Genoa City has been on a fever of searching for information about Dumas. Every reporter, every blogger, even professional paparazzi have followed every move of this character, but all they have received are ambiguity, unpredictability, and sometimes tricky counterattacks from Dumas. No one can predict the next step, because Dumas does not belong to any rules that the families have set. Dumas himself rewrote the rules of the game, forcing everyone to change to adapt if they do not want to be defeated. As each day passes, the secrets about Dumas's background gradually reveal themselves through each small piece of news, each piece of the past that Amanda, Victoria, and Abby have collected. The drama reached its climax when Tucker, unable to bear the pressure any longer, decided to admit to the entire city that he had a secret child, a child that, out of fear of responsibility, he had let the child's mother take away. Immediately afterwards, Dumas appeared on live television, took off his mask, revealing a face that was both strange and familiar, leaving everyone stunned. In Dumas' eyes was a mixture of resentment and a desire for recognition, between the courage of someone who had experienced many losses and the determination not to back down. Dumas looked straight at Tucker, then Victor, each word like thunder. "Your past has created my present. I did not come here to ask for pity. I came here to reclaim my honor, my mother's, and those who have been crushed under your power. This is the age of truth, and although it is painful, everyone in Genoa City will have to face it." That declaration, along with Dumas' true identity, created a real earthquake in Genoa City. No one could maintain a false calm anymore. Everything that had been hidden, that had been a forbidden zone of the past, was now exposed under the spotlight. Everyone was forced to face themselves, their mistakes and choices, in a game where Dumas, who stood outside all the rules, won the first victory by breaking down all the walls of silence for so long. And from that moment, a new Genoa City was officially born, where all old laws had to give way to the truth, where no one could safely hide behind the cover of power, because just one Dumas could disrupt and turn the whole city upside down forever. The last days of May in Genoa City have never been peaceful. As summer has just begun, the whole city has been shaken by the name of Dumas, a powerful ghost that is quietly threatening the heritage that has been protected by the great families for decades. No one knows exactly who Dumas is, but everyone feels the overwhelming presence, cold as a storm about to hit, quietly sweeping away the foundations that seem unshakable. At first, most of the suspicious looks were directed at Chancellor Winters. Lily, Devon, and Nate, three people with three bloodlines, three egos that could not be reconciled, are now on the same front, worried by the rumors that Dumas is aiming directly at the Hamilton family legacy, at the things that each generation has built through many ups and downs. Lily can't hide her unease, especially when anonymous phone calls and half-joking messages about Chancellor's identity being gradually manipulated by a mysterious force appear. Devon tries to stay calm, believing that all the danger is just the echo of the inherent business disputes, while Nate keeps digging into shareholder records, searching for any suspicious transactions related to the name Dumas. But the more they investigate, the more confusing the truth becomes. Signs of a plan to take over Chancellor fade when a series of strange financial fluctuations begin to appear at Newman Enterprises' satellite companies. A series of leaked internal news, warning messages sent to Victor's inbox, causing this veteran chairman to raise his level of vigilance to a high level. Victor was used to being targeted, but this time he clearly felt the difference. This opponent was not simply a power-hungry man, but a strategic genius who knew how to set traps from afar, making his prey lose themselves in a maze with no way out. While Victor was busy plotting revenge against his old rival, the Abbott family was constantly troubled by lawsuits and internal disputes, completely distracting their attention. The distraction of traditional rivals created an ideal power vacuum for Dumas, who was not bound by the past or personal grudges, but only aimed at the greatest goal, to overthrow Victor Newman with the same weapon he had used to defeat countless opponents: surprise and cold ruthlessness. In the darkness of sleepless nights, Dumas planned a bold move. No longer dreaming of running the Chancellor, he decided to skip all the small games and go straight to the core issue: Newman Enterprises. It was not only Genoa City's greatest symbol of power, but also Victor's proudest ego, the last stronghold he had devoted all his efforts to protecting for so many years in the face of danger, betrayal and unexpected betrayals from his own relatives. The signs of a coup plot appeared more densely as Nicky Newman's birthday approached, a big event where every powerful figure in the city would be present, where all eyes would be on the biggest names in business. No one knew that behind the mask of glamour, every move had been calculated by Dumas down to the last detail, as if Victor's every move, Nicky's every word, every glance exchanged between opponents were part of a prearranged chess game. From early that morning, Genoa City was filled with an atmosphere of hustle and bustle. The media gathered in front of the Newman mansion, security personnel tightened all preparations, while Nicky still smiled confidently, unaware of the real storm that was waiting behind the red velvet curtain. Victor, despite his experience, still felt uneasy when he received anonymous messages with threatening words. He thought of a series of names, but no one really made him feel threatened like Dumas. An invisible person, not belonging to the past or any existing power, just a shadow that quietly approached, waiting for the opportunity to strike a fatal blow. The birthday party took place in a lavish atmosphere typical of Newman. Music, wine, and seemingly innocuous conversations, but every look, every gesture contained vigilance. Suddenly, just as Nicky stepped onto the stage to accept the congratulations, the entire LED screen around the banquet hall suddenly turned pitch black. The sound stopped. Before everyone could recover, a strange message appeared: "It is time for Genoa City to learn to face the truth. When all power is overthrown, only transparency and courage remain." Signed, Dumas. The atmosphere was still, anxious whispers echoed along the rows of guests. Victor immediately signaled the security team, but in his heart he knew that once Dumas had chosen this moment to take action, it meant that all the protective barriers were now just a formality. Behind the velvet curtain, an entire server system of Newman Enterprises was suddenly attacked. Dumas not only sent a symbolic message but also dealt a real blow to the corporation with a massive cyber attack, collapsing the financial control system, paralyzing all transactions for several hours. Panic spread throughout the hall. Major shareholders, partners, even the big shots who were used to fighting on paper, were now shaken by the fact that Victor no longer had absolute control. Devon realized that what he worried about the Chancellor was actually just a perfect distraction. Dumas's goal was never the Hamilton legacy, but to completely destroy the old order, to remove Victor from the throne with the same weapon he used to build his empire. Meanwhile, Lily and Nate immediately assembled the board of directors to check all financial transactions. They quickly discovered that Dumas had not secretly bought each small shareholder, but had, with clever moves, acquired a large amount of shares from Newman's subsidiaries, taking advantage of Victoria and Adam's complacency and recent internal disputes to take a shortcut. In an instant, everyone realized, a large part of the power in Newman Enterprises had fallen into the hands of an anonymous person. Victor did not show any panic, but everyone could clearly see that his eyes were shining with anger. He had been through too many battles, once thinking he was invincible, but Dumas brought a completely different fear, the fear of an opponent with no personal motives, no vendetta, simply a ruthless storm that swept away everything in its path without reason. Nicky herself gradually realized the growing unease in Victor's every breath. After most of the guests had left, she quietly asked him, "What do you think Dumas wants?" Victor pondered, shaking his head slightly. "Not money, not power. Maybe it's just to remind us that no one, including you, is immortal on this battlefield." News of the shocking power grab spread across the newspapers, even beyond the scope of Genoa City. Dumas was no longer a strange name but became a symbol of a new era, where all the old rules were challenged, where no one could be sure of their position tomorrow. Rumors spread across social networks, from businessmen to the smallest employees. Everyone was talking and worrying about their future. Devon, Lily, and Nate clearly felt an irreversible transition. The Chancellor's peaceful days were numbered. But the surprises did not stop there. Dumas, instead of hiding, sent an open letter published in the media: "Newman Enterprises has lived too long in the shadow of a family. It is time to belong to the collective, to those with real power, not just a name." This is not a war of revenge, but a transformation of an entire city. Prepare yourself for change. I am not here to ask for permission, I am here to restore order. This message, more than any financial or media attack, truly marked the end of an era. Victor stood before his familiar desk, looking at the family photo neatly placed on top, his heart filled with complicated emotions. He knew that Dumas was not only a rival, but also someone who had broken the solid shell he had worked so hard to build around himself. In the quiet conference room, Victoria whispered, "Perhaps we have underestimated this opponent." But Victor only nodded slightly, a cold smile appearing on his lips. "This is not the end. It is just the beginning of a new game." But everyone understood that Genoa City would never be the same again. A new era had opened, with Dumas standing in the shadows, quietly controlling the fate of the entire city, and for the first time, all the long-standing monuments of power were forced to learn to survive under completely new rules that they could not control. For many years, Phyllis Summer's life in Genoa City has been a series of ups and downs, battles in the business world and in her heart. That woman once stood proudly at the peak of success, once possessed a love that made many people jealous, but then everything was just like a shower, coming and going, leaving a void in her heart that was not easy to fill. At an age when many people choose to settle down, Phyllis is still ready to face all challenges, whether in business, on the legal battlefield, or even when her heart beats with pain because of loneliness that no one understands. Lately, the series of bad luck seems to keep following Phyllis, dragging her down to the bottom of the abyss of continuous disappointment. Work stagnated, business projects that were once a source of pride now became a burden, old companions each went their separate ways, and even love, the thing that helped her survive many storms, is now as far away as a dream that has not yet awakened. Jack Abbott has chosen to return to stability with Diane, Nick Newman is forever a figure too familiar to make her heart flutter again, and Daniel, the only son, is busy searching for himself in a strange place. In the quiet nights, Phyllis sometimes wonders, is it fate that her life will forever be an endless chase with loneliness? However, everything begins to change when Aristotle Dumas appears in the city. No one knows exactly the origin of this man, only that he is a mysterious, young billionaire, possessing a rare dangerous charm, a mixture of sharp intelligence, handsome appearance, and cold confidence that makes anyone who comes into contact with him feel like they are being drawn into an intellectual game whose rules they do not know. Dumas does not belong to any traditional faction in Genoa City. He came like a breath of fresh air, free, challenging and powerful, quickly becoming the talk of the business world, the media, and even the most sensitive hearts. Phyllis first met Dumas at an important shareholder meeting of the Grand Phoenix Hotel, where she had now returned to the executive role after many events. That man, with his sharp eyes, mysterious half-smile and perfectly tailored suit, attracted the attention of the entire hall. Not noisy, not ostentatious, but every decision of Dumas made everyone wary. He was the newly emerged largest shareholder, but had never once come out to fight for power. The way he spoke, low, slow, both polite and skillful, made Phyllis feel like she was facing a dangerous chess game, where just one wrong move could cost her everything. In the following days, Dumas seemed to appear everywhere Phyllis was. At the Society Café, at business meetings, even occasionally meeting by chance outside the park in the early morning. At first, Phyllis thought it was just a coincidence, but then she realized, this man never let anything get out of control. Business cooperation invitations were sent, projects that seemed impossible to save suddenly had new capital poured in. Even the legal troubles related to Grand Phoenix were resolved smoothly, as if Dumas was both a guardian angel and a judge in all of Phyllis's life games. However, her heart had been hurt too much, making Phyllis wary. She did not easily trust a man who had just appeared, no matter how charming and generous he was. In the evenings, sitting over a glass of red wine, she wondered, what made Dumas interested in her? Did he just want to take advantage of her position, reputation, and the relationships she had built over the years, or was there really something special between them that she herself did not dare to admit?